Good evening and welcome. I'm Sheila Balgobin and I am the Dream Decipherer, and I help you to crack the code of your sleeping dreams so you can sleep sound and dream deep. I've got a little dream, but as we know, little dreams often contain more than a little bit of that information, but it seems to involve mobile tariffs, cell phone tariffs. Let's find out what's going on. The dreamer reports it can't recall the exact details, but what stood out for the dreamer was that the tariff on their phone mobile had changed, and for whatever reason, the difference in the energy from the mobile phone transmitter was amplified. It was a transmitter outside of the dreamer's home, but apparently there was a ramping up, perhaps, of the energy that the coming from the outside in the street that the dreamer could feel, and that was the end of the dream. Very short dream. Now, the first thing is, as mentioned in previous lives, that when details are forgotten, it's usually because it's not the most important thing for you to focus on at the time. And as I also mentioned, 50% of a dream is forgotten within the first 5 minutes of waking up. And that's pretty much true for everybody everywhere. So that the dreamer couldn't recall exact details, that's fine. Just think of it as like those little throwaway scenes in movies that really maybe don't even make sense, but they're there anyway just to fill the space until the next big scene. So what the dreamer does remember is that the mobile phone tariff had changed, and for whatever reason, with the change of tariff coincided, and what seems to be a ramping up of the energy coming from the phone transmitter, or I think it's a mobile phone mast that may be a question here outside the dreamer's home. Now, the this was the apparently the bit of information in the dream that had the highest emotional charge literally, and that's what the dreamer remembers. But the look at the elements of the dream and see what it may be trying to communicate to the dreamer. First of all, you have it's a mobile, it's a cell phone. Obviously, it's there's something about communication being referred to in this dream in some way. Perhaps a change in communication style, communication in just a more general sense. It's costing more to talk, literally. If that the tariffs usually don't go down, they go up. And I would ask the dreamer here, is there an area of in their lives where communication has changed for some reason or in some way? Now, the other thing was the dreamer uh, notes a difference in the energy output. Doesn't say whether it was increased or decreased, but that there was a difference of some kind. Yeah, how did this new or different energy feel? Did it make you feel better? Did it make you feel worse? What happens? I mean, there's a huge debate and quite a lot of evidence to show that phone mass, which was what this sounds like, this phone mass outside the dreamer's house or near the dreamer's house, has can put out very strong and very harmful EMF, electromagnetic frequencies, and which can be cancer causing, particularly in children. But that's another story. So I would ask if there's how does this energy, this shift in energy, feel to the dreamer? And in outer life, is there a phone mass near the home? But on an energetic level, is there some kind of outside communication, or communication from beyond, communication from outside the home, outside the perhaps, and we'll come back to the home in a minute, that is having some kind of impact or some kind of cost in some way. This conversation or potential conversation has a cost attached to it. Now, this, talk about this, leave that for a moment and come back to this transmitter, which is outside of the house. I go back to the question: is there literally in waking life a transmitter, a telephone mast that's near the home? Um, uh, but on a slightly different level, taking it from a different direction, is there some kind of human transmitter that is sending communication to you from outside your home, a message or messenger of some kind? And it made me think about whether this might be, whether the dreamer might be receiving information in an unusual way that actually doesn't involve mobile phones at all, but it may be, psychic downloading or intuition or something like that. Is that happening for the dreamer? Perhaps becoming more, gaining more clarity from an intuitive direction. I'd like to talk about the house for a minute. Again, houses, generally, not always, but in most cases, whenever I have houses have come up in people's dreams, it usually represents the inner life of the person. The different rooms in the house, this inner house, represents different aspects of the dreamer's life. So, or as I call it, my new word, a word I created called the inner verse. Instead of the universe out there, it's the inner verse inside. So, and what I would ask the dreamer here, where was the dreamer standing in this house when they felt this, notice this shift in energy? Mm, was out in the garden and now I'm paying for it. It's like breathed in all the pollen the wind was blowing around. Um, so my question here again was, what particular room, if the dreamer was actually standing in a room, what room was the dreamer in where they noticed this change in energy flow? Because the room could actually be significant. So that's something for the dreamer to think about. Um, and there's just seems to be, and well, communication is obviously the key to this dream. But what my impression is about this dream is that there is maybe a newer or higher, some different level of communication that may be taking place in the dreamer's life. Like I said, it could be psychic downloading, it could just be intuitive knowing, it or it could be, he needs to change his mobile tariff. I mean, dreams that can be practical, or they can do all kinds of things and tell us about all kinds of things going on in our lives. But my question here for the dreamer is whether this new level or type of communication is internal, or as the wording of the dream seems to imply, that this is coming from an exterior or external source of some kind, perhaps channeling information and receiving it more clearly. There's clearly some shifting going on in the dreamer's life with regard to communication, but it's up to the dreamer to determine where that shift is, where in the internal house, in the innerverse, is this shift happening. I'm pretty sure that the room, if the dreamer remembers what room they were in when the just dream was going on, may provide some clues as to what this shifting is about. There you have it. Mobile tariffs, which aren't and finding out what perhaps what the cost of this new form of communication is, or what shift in information is being received in communications from this other source. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Have a great evening and rest of the week, and I'll see you again soon. Take care. Bye-bye.